Hello again and welcome to Pearl Magazine. Every year, thousands of people flee their home countries due to civil war or political struggles, which have made it difficult for them to survive there. Tonight's story is about Innocent Mutanga, an asylum seeker who went from sleeping on the streets of Hong Kong to working at an investment bank. Ambrose Lee finds out about his journey.
That there are three basic tones to hitting an African drum. We do the drumming every 2 weeks, different styles, and we hope that people can come and just release some of that stress and throw the drum and be able to connect with other people.
Innocent Mutanga dedicates his weekends to lead a wide range of African-themed activities at this social enterprise he co-founded, which includes talks, film screenings, meal gatherings, a book club, and drumming sessions like this one.
Was that a colony of French?
Was it a colony of French? It was primarily an observation that people were interested here, people were curious to want to learn about Africa, and people wanted a new perspective in many ways in trying to understand the situation now. And I really believe that the African perspective offers something special.
For the 23-year-old master's student, Max, his first exposure to African drumming was an eye-opening experience.
After this session, I figured they have a very cool musical culture here and cool instruments for me to enjoy these sessions and bring me a new perspective other than just poor countries in Africa.
Through different activities at the social enterprise, Innocent and his team aim to facilitate exchanges across ethnic groups and tackle stereotypes of blackness. Also, they run different diversity workshops and programs that schools and corporations pay for to stay self-sustainable.
We're trying to show people that we can work things out for ourselves. We just want to be treated equally. One, Africans are vulnerable, they're constantly needing help. We've already been challenging that by simply saying no to a big check from a bank. And also that Africans are dangerous. I think we've been challenging those things in many ways, that people are more willing to actually interact, hang out with us.
Back in 2013, in Zimbabwe, where Innocent came from, he was involved in grassroots voting campaigns in the lead-up to a presidential election and faced political persecution. He was kidnapped and threatened. Upon escaping his captors, he fled the country, first to Botswana and then to South Africa, where he boarded a flight to Hong Kong. He arrived in Hong Kong with about 200 Hong Kong dollars in his pocket. The first few months here were bleak. Most of his nights were spent on this bench on Austin Road in Tsim Sha Tsui, homeless. For him, it was a treasured space back then, which took him a long time to find, after being chased away by security guards in Kowloon Park and multiple other spots.
Despite any noise that you might hear from the cars, it felt like in a hotel, where you just sleep and sleep. It was cold, of course, but it wasn't really as bad as being in McDonald's. And also, nobody was bothering me then. This was December, January, so it was getting colder and colder. And then what I started doing was I will set up an alarm, wake up at 2:30, 3:30. I go to Mongkok. I run back to Tsim Sha Tsui. That way my body temperature goes up so I don't freeze, and then I can sleep.
While those days are now long gone, he visits this spot regularly to this day.
Because it's very easy to forget where you come from, whenever I try to remind myself of the beauty of hard work and the beauty of perseverance, the importance of perseverance, I come here.
The homeless face sharpened his perspectives and intuition.
I think my understanding of value as a person was in many ways shaped by this experience. I'm not very much deceived by symbols. They don't mean anything to me. And whether you work for this company or that company, I look at the underlying value of things. By sleeping here and walking around without a home, it really helped me to understand the place better. In many ways, I felt like I kind of understood what this city is made of and how to potentially succeed in this place.
Through a lot of hard work, he became one of the few, if not the only person, to go from being an asylum seeker to a university graduate in Hong Kong. However, the journey to achieving that was yet another obstacle course for him. As an asylum seeker, he was told that he wasn't allowed to study, work, or even volunteer. To tackle this, he went through piles of government and legal documents to thoroughly understand the system.
Nah, you tell me something is possible, I get excited. I'm like, okay, now we got a real challenge now. When it came to trying to stay here or going to school, the toughest part was working with the government. The Security Bureau, which basically has the Immigration Department, the Education Bureau here, as well as the Judicial. With government workers, they can't really cut the phone until I cut it myself. So I just had to put everybody in a conference call. And then things worked, after that. It just didn't work like that, There were a lot of difficulties.
While at university, he met his girlfriend Chihiro Shimizu, who he now lives with and is an important part of his life in Hong Kong, especially after having left Zimbabwe for 7 years now.
Oh, so like, you are being harassed. Later on, things will be good if you unite as a country. So I'll usually listen to that. There were times, of course, I would feel like, oh, I wish I was home. Usually those things are triggered. Maybe I'm just playing some music, and then the song just takes me back. And also listening to music created by some of the musicians in exile, who, of course, who sing about the love that they have for the country.
Chihiro was an exchange student from Japan when she met Innocent. She says that she has never come across anyone quite like him before, and one particular quality attracted her to him.
If I were to say in one word, it would be empathy, because he can empathize with pretty much everyone, maybe except for the privileged people. Yeah, because when we see like someone sleeping on the street, he can empathize with him or her. He can also empathize with domestic helper who is fighting against the employer's abuses, and also maybe an asylum seeker, people who are stuck in Hong Kong for like 10 years. He can empathize with all of them.
Right now we're in Central. This is the place I work also, and I work for an investment bank here.
Upon graduating from university, Innocent became a financial analyst and has been working for 2 years now.
I felt like finance would give me a special perspective that I may not have naturally, which is basically looking at the markets. And I feel like the training I get in finance, I'll be able to use that when it goes back to Africa. Because I believe the problem of Africa really it's much more about its capital markets, and being able to solve that. I think we need to be part of the markets as well.
Landing his current job was a milestone for him, but it's just the beginning, as he hopes to do much more, and he's confident that his job is equipping him for his long-term goals.
One, being able to participate in the reimagination or rebranding of what Africa is. In addition to that, is being able to participate again in the building of Africa, in a sense. If I think capital markets is the way to go, if I think education is the way to go, which is perhaps the two areas that I care most about.
Despite working in Central, Innocent made a conscious decision to live in Tin Shui Wai, which is about an hour of commute for him. To him, Tin Shui Wai is a microcosm of Hong Kong.
I really wanted to be part of the society and, being able to learn about Hong Kong, the culture, right, to keep my hand on the pulse of the society and really understand how things are. And I felt like Tin Shui Wai was really a good place for that. I think one of my favorite things in Tin Shui Wai is that people here are not like zombies. People here are more real. People are open a little bit. You can talk to people, even if you don't know them. It's like, hey, hello. If I can speak a little Cantonese, they speak a little English. We can work it out. So I think people are much more curious and also willing to at least talk to other people as well. 有冇抽葵？
抄佢又冇，佢價列剔剔。
Okay,唔該晒。The most Hong Kong thing that I do is probably swearing, speaking foul language. 廣東話好難啊，but I can speak Mamate.
Living in the area and learning the language are just some of the things Innocent does to really get to know more about the city he now calls home.
I've been here for 7 years now, and definitely I identify as a Hong Kongian. A couple of years ago, I feel like I'm connected to this place. I'm connected to people. 2014 was the time a lot of people were thinking about identity here in Hong Kong. I was happy to see the direction the Hong Kong identity was taking, which is basically not as an ethnic identity, not like, oh, like being Chinese, it's harder for me to claim to be Chinese, right? Because it's associated with ethnicity. Since 2014, that identity has formed in a way that is open for everybody. And to me, that was the time that I really started to think hardly about identity as a whole. And then I felt like, you know what, I think I'm connecting. And that makes me a part of it.
After the break, Hong Kong's traditional shop signs are fading out, but there are those determined to keep this unique art form alive. Stay with us. Welcome back to Pearl Magazine. Tourists often remember a city by its landmarks and skyline. For Hong Kong, the brightly colored shop signs lining the busy streets and hanging off of buildings are just as iconic as the Hong Kong skyline. Unfortunately, old-style shop signs appear to be reaching their expiry date. But a few traditionalists are finding ways to preserve this unique Hong Kong feature and make it a fixture to last into our future.
Neon lights and retail shop signs hanging above the heads of pedestrians have become a key signature of Hong Kong streets. Characters in each sign have their own style.
Each district has its own sign writer. That's what created the streets of Hong Kong, like puzzle pieces put together.
As the city evolves, these signs are moving with the times.
I do understand the scene is unavoidably changing, yet how much of that can we keep?
Instead of sending these signs to the museum, there's another way for people to save them.
Turning something old into something modern and current and practically useful.
Like your daily items, such as a washing basin, towels, wire clips. This can all be sustainable.
Lee Kin-ming is a second-generation retail sign maker. He likes this font by Li Hon, who was a good friend of his father. In the 90s, shortly before Li Hon passed away, he left behind hand scripts of more than 2,000 pages of characters, so that others could continue the profession. Lee Kin-ming calls these the Li Hong Kong fonts.
Li Hon, that's Uncle Lee. Kong is Hong Kong. Font is just font. Based on its pronunciation, I'm giving it two meanings. You look at Hong Kong street, so people pay attention to street signs in Hong Kong.
Since technology in the 90s was not advanced enough to save these fonts in computer files, Lee's fonts were left unused until 2015.
I heard on the radio there was a Taiwanese company that could turn handwriting into computer fonts, and they said they could help.
It was a problem solved. By 2016, with the help of the Taiwanese company, Lee Kin-ming started restoring the Lee fonts.
I spent weeks scanning thousands of pages of characters into the computer. In the first step after scanning, I used the computer's software to draw each character line by line to form an outline. Those characters Lee didn't write, I created them by merging parts. After finishing some 7,000 characters, I sent them to the Taiwanese company to encode them.
Lee spent his spare time restoring the characters, which took 4 years to finish. After all the hard work, he finally got to see the birth of the first sign using characters he had saved.
First of all, people weren't so systematic to save these characters. Secondly, there were no street sign writers saving their work. I inadvertently did this and created fonts with Hong Kong characteristics.
As a part of Hong Kong's culture, the Lee fonts were brought back to life by Lee Kin Ming, who has more than 20 years of experience making signs that dot our city streets. Lee particularly likes riding the tram on the upper deck, where he can cast his eyes on the old signs.
These are dried seafood shops with an old and strong background. They see the need to have a nicer shop sign. Because this district is not as connected as other districts to the MTR, so retail shops here evolve slowly. We can see some nice old signs.
He says shop signs actually have different characteristics, and he classified them into 2 categories.
We can call them layered signs. Shops would have a sign up top, inside, and in front, and also at one end. There are 3 of them. They would maximize the space and have as many as possible to demonstrate their strength. This one we call a staggered sign. Characters are in frames that read from right to left. First, it points people to the location of the shop. Secondly, it's auspicious since it leads customers from the outside to the inside.
Old signs can also be found at public housing estates. Many older estates, like this one in Kwai Chung, still have lots of them.
Back in the day, one didn't care much about these signs. But upon visiting years after I moved out, I started seeing their beauty and noticing the fonts.
The shop signs are not just functional. Lee says, for him, they carry emotional memories.
Every day I saw those signs, I felt connected with those shops, emotionally attached to everything about the shop. So when they don't exist anymore, I would ask, where did the old one go? Or I would recall the old one was better. Maybe it's just me missing the old one.
Old shop signs are hard to come by these days. Many were taken down since they were illegally built or left behind by their previous owner. New ones are more flashy and don't last.
Whether they are made of plastic or other materials, demand for durable ones is down. Most shops are just renting. Those on short-term leases just use a banner.
Lee doesn't think old shop signs will disappear in the near future, but he still hopes people get to know this traditional culture of Hong Kong.
In this workshop today, we're teaching them to make a bat holding a coin sign. It's very Hong Kong. It's a pawn shop sign.
Lee says he's an introvert, so he never thought of organizing workshops. He was just doing his job. After he was approached by an NGO to organize workshops and guided tours, he now offers a number of activities.
First, we work with NGOs and provide activities for the public. Second, I'd like to share my knowledge with other people.
In addition to the workshop, Lee has recruited his sister to make some handicrafts to promote the art.
When we see something, we discuss it and say if we can create a product. We talk about the size, production, color, and packaging.
When designing these products, they try to integrate popular elements to attract young people to the shop sign culture.
When we talk with young people, we try to understand what they're concerned about. So we can put pop words or slang in these signs, hoping to create some interest and some spark.
Their products contain shop sign elements applied in daily items, so the culture can be more accessible in people's lives.
People may not spend much money on a shop sign anymore. But in their daily life, they can still see shop signs in daily items.
That's Pearl Magazine for this week. Thanks for watching. See you next time.